but yeah.
It's gonna comfort me.
So hi everyone. I'm Alex. I'm Miley's partner. I haven't met all of you, but I'm glad to be here with you. Honored to be here with you to celebrate Alex. It helps that I'm a rabbi when things like this happen. You don't need to go finding somebody. But it's actually much harder to do things with family because you feel so deeply, and I'm feeling so deeply your loss today. We have some liturgy, some readings. Rick's going to share some words, but it won't be too long. We won't stay out here, though this weather feels appropriate for losing someone we love. Death has taken our beloved Alex, a family man, a Kings fan, a curious learner, dedicated teacher, see one, do one, teach one, an expert foot rubber, fisherman, but most importantly, a beloved husband and father and grandfather and great-grandfather. We grieve in this darkened world without Alex. There's much lamentation in our silence and loneliness in our tears. But here we are together. We say that God is near the brokenhearted, and I think that's because often the brokenhearted are surrounded by their loved ones. They say mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in unending grief. The gifts of spirit that Alex gave us cannot be measured or weighed. They can't be lost, and they cannot be tarnished by time. Even in these darkest hours, we know that Alex's light and his warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. We remember Alex and join our hearts together to give each other comfort and strength. Mourning is a time filled with so many emotions and memories, some bitter ones and some sweet ones. And our service is filled with psalms and prayers, linking his life with the millennia-old tradition of his people and the eternity of God. I thought it'd be fitting to start with a song that has come to be known with mourning, Eli, Eli. It's a more modern song from World War II of a poet named Hannah Senesh, who herself lost her life in her fight against the Nazis. And World War II was such a profound impact on Alex that it felt right. But it also felt right because the words of this song are that I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, and knowing his life and his love of being out on the water and fishing. It's just a beautiful tribute to him. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, achol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat adam, achol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tfilat adam. Ecclesiastes teaches us that there is a time for everything, a time for every experience under the sun, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted, a time for destroying and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up, a time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for wailing and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering them, a time for embracing and a time for refraining from embrace, a time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for tearing and a time for sowing, a time for silence and a time for speaking, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for war and a time for peace. It feels deeply fitting that on the day Alex passed, synagogues around the world read the story of Passover. It makes perfect sense to me that a man who loved to learn, who loved to teach, who loved tradition, would love the Passover Seder so much. The storytelling, the passing down of traditions from generation to generation, the curious probing of an ancient story to make meaning for our times. One of my first glimpses into Alex before I ever met him in person was a video Miley sent me of the family Seder. Everyone singing, you guessed it, Dayenu, as Alex read English before waving his hands, conducting everybody in the chorus. At its heart, Dayenu reminds us to recognize each blessing as sufficient on its own, and to be so grateful for each blessing we receive. Alex brought us so many blessings, so many moments to be grateful for in his 94 years. And I'd like to invite up Rick to reflect on those blessings and share some memories now.
Thank you. When we gathered to discuss what we wanted to share today, we were overwhelmed by the countless memories and stories we could tell. In the end, we decided to wait for a memorial for all of you, both here in person and joining us online, can share your own memories and honor my dad in a way that feels meaningful to you. For today, we want this burial ceremony to be about being present in this moment, allowing space for quiet reflection. With that in mind, I was asked to share some of my own reflections in the hope that they may help guide our collective remembrance. To start, I want to first start by thanking Ross for coming down. Ross, your contributions and wisdom and background were so very much being Ross. Thank you again. And second, I want to also say I'm deeply grateful, Alex, for your presence here today for many reasons. First, your name carries meaning in keeping my dad's name, Alex, alive in our hearts and minds. It's a connection that will always remind us of him. I also want to thank you for helping me bring my desire for a Jewish ceremony for my dad to reality. I wanted today's burial to have context and meaning to support that desire for joint reflections. While my dad wasn't anyone who we would call a religious Jew, he was, to me, the most important kind. The kind connected by history and tradition. More than anything, I wanted this Jewish ceremony because it provided me with a platform I hoped for from today, which would allow me to reflect and honor my dad's role as a patriarch. It's a position I knew he personally felt deeply about, and one that we all recognized in him. He was a unique kind of patriarchal presence, what I consider a California, Canadian, best generation patriarch. His passing is connected to the loss of what many considered our greatest generation. Like so many of his time, he was born during the Great Depression, profoundly shaped by World War II. And yet he emerged with a remarkable combination of kindness and quiet heroism. There are so few left, and they are all so very much missed. He was also the elder of his generation and his family in Montreal. I believe he stepped formally into that patriarch role after the heartbreaking early loss of his mother, Fanny, who he loved profoundly, and because of the guidance and support of his incredible patriarch father, Hyman Mordechai, or as we all well knew him, Grampee. Grampee's influence led Dad from McGill University to his dental degree at Harvard and his medical degree from the University of Pittsburgh. Throughout my life, I saw how seriously my dad took his patriarch responsibility of keeping us connected to our fantastic Canadian relatives, especially my favorite Aunt Brenda, his awesome brother Mitch, my favorite Uncle Art, and my dad's deeply loved sister Ruthie. And also as a California patriarch, I saw he brought those same values to Orange County in its early days in the 1960s, building an incredible medical career and fostering an environment that almost unbelievably in today's world took medicine and patients first, with money a distant second. Of course, this role as a patriarch was not his alone. It was the result of the most important relationship in his life, his marriage to his forever wife, Carol. He loved you deeply, Carol. We all here today, I hope, to recognize this meaning and uniqueness of this patriarch standing, to reflect on him, and to share our gratitude for having been connected to someone like him. Of course, my dad had other talents. One I'd call a combination of goofy and crafty. I feel blessed I inherited some of those genes, and I'm grateful for them, although many times I feel I have not gotten all of the genes, as I'm the only one who laughs at a lot of my jokes. Over the years, my dad created and repeated a vast library that he loved to share. Some were downright funny, some I still don't quite understand, but love simply because they came from him. Back in 1984, I compiled a favorite set of his sayings into a calendar for him. John recently found it, and I want to share a few of them I'm sure you're familiar with. If they don't, you're welcome to say, along with my dad, Rick, you missed it by that much. And for those that get that, they can also bring in the image of him laughing with a bowl of ice cream on his stomach going up and down. One of his sayings feels especially fitting for me: a rainy, messy day, the kind of day he would have skipped if given the choice. Because in his words, it never pays to take an unnecessary risk. So in his honor, please drive home safely. Another reflects his role as a California patriarch. And as Alex alluded to, he came to California to bring his medical expertise, passion, and dedication to the City of Hope. Wherever he worked, he built strong relationships, and together they made great strides. It was at the City of Hope that he picked up one of those most lasting and meaningful phrases, one that many of us live by today. See one, do one, teach one. I'm not sure if they came from the same place, but another one of his medical phrases has always stuck with me. Measure twice, cut once. And then, of course, there's Jakey, get out of the buggy. Which, I'll be honest, I still don't fully understand,
I know that one.
but I love it because it was his. And in closing, where I know a number of you are saying, Rick, that is enough. With that, I want to share one of his favorite Jewish tradition chant that he loved to say, for that is enough. And as Alex reflected, and will join me hopefully in, I hope you can now all join me in singing this for him. Ili Hotzi,
Hotzianu, Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
Love you, God.
Fill in the quiz.
How well can you read Aramaic? Other side of it. I should be able to talk the other way. I'm going to give these to you guys.
Right around?
You'll be on the other side. The side that says Psalm 23 is what we will read in a moment when everyone has it.
That next year.
I know there's a lot of Hebrew, but we're just reading the English. Don't get scared. It's on the bottom of the page that says Psalm 23, which has Hebrew at the top, but no English. There we go. Everybody with us? Starts with Adonai. Okay, we'll read. Psalm 23 is a psalm that is very closely associated with mourning in the Jewish tradition. Not just because God is close to us, God is taking care of us, God is comforting us, but also because when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't stop. We keep going. We hold hands, we put our arms around each other, and we put one step in front of the other until we're on the other side. And that's how we do mourning in the Jewish tradition. First for 7 days, then for 30 days, and then for a full year, into a new reality, a different reality that none of us wanted or asked for. But nonetheless, we're here together, walking through it. So we read Psalm 23 together now. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. Lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You've set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. I've never read My Cup Overflows and immediately thought Dayenu, but I might have to from now on. We continue now with a prayer called El Malei Rachamim, God full of compassion, that asks for God's help in caring for the soul of Alex. It's a moment of deep reverence in our tradition, reminding us that though Alex has left this world, his soul remains with us in our embrace of eternal love and memory. It's sung in Hebrew, but before I chant it, I just wanted to read the translation. And I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes for a minute as I read it, and trying to hang on to a word or a phrase, something that makes you think of Alex, a memory, a moment of joy, a feeling of love. May the source of life, the fountain of all being, open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we might glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May Alex's memory be for us an eternal blessing. And may we never let the light of his love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all his worthy and righteous deeds, that his memory be forever bound up in the bond of life. God is our source and our destination, our beginning and our end. May Alex's death awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we shared and continue to share will not be severed in sorrow. May he rest in peace. And we say to that, Amen. We now rise together as I chant El Malay Rachamim. You can totally stay seated, Carol.
Yeah, everyone can see.
You can stay seated if you want. Or you can stand.
El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Amsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina Im Kedoshim Utehorim Kizohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Alexander Tzvi Ben Mordechai Chaim Shehalach Leolamo Bala Rachamim Yasirehu Beseter Kanfav Leolamim V'yitzror b'yitzror hakayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato. V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo. V'nomar Amen. In Jewish tradition, we honor and remember those we've lost by reciting Kadisha Tom, the mourner's Kaddish, or more specifically, the orphan's Kaddish. This ancient prayer is not about death, but affirming life. It doesn't mention death once. It's a declaration of faith, of blessing, of hope, and of greatness, even in the midst of grief. Reciting Kaddish is a way to express our love, to hold the memory of Alex close, and to affirm that even in loss, we remain connected to each other, to our traditions, to something greater than ourselves, and most importantly, to him. May our love and our memories give us strength as we turn to recite these words. Sanctifying the name of God, we honor the memory of Dr. Alexander Harris Halperin, Alexander Tzvi Ben Mordechai Chaim B'Freida, with the words of Kadisha Tov. That's the other side of your page. If you want to join with us, you're welcome to. Titgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam U'Lalamei Almaya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitha'ar V'Yitromam V'Yinaseh V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shemei D'Kudsha B'Richu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Da'amiran B'Alma V'Imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru. Amen. Osei Shalom B'Mromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru. May Alex's memory continue to bring you joy, to bring you light, and to light your path forward. And we say to that, Amen. So, you can sit. We are going to, we need to get the coffin down a little bit. and then we will put flowers on top. Then they will lower it all the way down. So we have a few minutes until we're ready for the next step. But I'll just explain as they can start whenever they're ready. Flowers.
This is Charlene.
This is Charlene. She's the best. So these were picked out. Remind me what white was.
It is
Devotion.
Commitment,
everlasting loyalty, commitment, and enduring love.
and the red was love,
Romance.
romance. And Carol picked them out, which is so appropriate for their long love of each other. We have some here. There are some more somewhere, right? So when the coffin is lowered into the enclosure, we will walk out and everybody will take a flower and place it on the grave. The end of a Jewish ceremony it's a significant mitzvah, significant righteous act to fill in the grave of a loved one, to prepare their final resting place, their final home. And we can think about the home that Alex built for all of us, that all of us benefited from, the love that that home filled, and now it's not asking for anything else from Alex. It's our last obligation to prepare his final resting place, his final home. So we're going to come. So, going to invite. We will do the other part, the shoveling part for anybody that wants to, after that part. But for now, anybody that wants to place flowers on the top of the coffin can do so.
I'll collect the papers if anyone doesn't. Have to. Or, they have another
tradition in many Jewish circles that you may have seen is to take a shovelful upside down, which is actually not very easy. But it's a representation of our refusal to accept that Alex is gone. That feeling that we have that we can't accept it, we don't want to accept it. And after that first shovel backwards, we turn it right side up, we take a full shovel, trying to force ourselves to accept this finality. So anyone that wishes can go take a shovel and begin the process of filling it.
That's for you. This way.
Job we read the Adonai, Natanda Adonai Lekach, God gives from that page. And today we feel that God is taking out, but also that God is giving us this moment of being together, of being a family. And these are also precious. And so we don't just remember in sorrow, but we remember in joy and happiness. And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want us moping about. He'd want us singing Diana and telling stories. And so we will do our best to smile and to remember him in love and happiness too. So our plan now is to
To Javier's.
the Javier's.
Newport Beach.
We'll get there early. I'll leave this here.
You meant two different things probably here. She was back. Yeah.
His butt.